welcome to Parents First, an initiative of Hill Range Secondary School. My name is Melvina Iwanugo, and I'll be the moderator for tonight. We are delighted to have you join us for our first seminar of the year 2026, which also marks a significant milestone, our 25th Parents First seminar. Please, with a clapping emoji, let's celebrate this moment. Please, please, please. Let's send in our emojis. This is actually a remarkable moment, the 25th Parents First Seminar. What a moment. Thank you for being here, and thank you for joining us for this first presentation of the year. Thank you so much. Parents First was established with a powerful mission to equip parents to make society and the world a better place through regular training in personal development and parenting. Through this initiative, Hill Range Secondary School offers free monthly online seminars, reaching to parents across the world with practical tools, shared experiences, and evidence-based guidance for raising well-rounded children, and of course, building strong families. Our seminar theme for tonight is Setting the Course, Goal-Setting Strategies for Parents, Kids, and the whole family. This session will explore practical step-by-step strategies to help you, our parents, and of course, your children, define clear, achievable goals for academic, personal, and of course, for the family at large. We'll look at how to turn everyday moments into opportunities for growth. We are privileged to have as our facilitator this evening, Mrs. Ijeoma Amu. She's a passionate educator, a visionary school leader, and family life advocate. She currently serves as the principal of Roseville Secondary School. She's also a volunteer facilitator with the Nigerian Association for Family Development. With nearly 2 decades of experience in education, and as a mother of 5, she brings a rich blend of professional insight and practical parenting wisdom. Known for her warmth, clarity, and engaging delivery, she promises both learning and moments of laughter. And of course, you can attest to that by the end of the session. So please join me as we warmly welcome Mrs. Ijeoma Amu. She'll be taking us on this ride in the next 40 minutes. Thank you, Ms. Amu, and over to you.
Good evening, dear parents. I hope you can all hear me well.
Yes, we can.
Loud and clear.
Fantastic. So I'm privileged to be the first speaker for 2026 Parents First, and then I'll be bringing to us a conversation titled Setting the Course, Goal-Setting Strategies for Parents, Students, and the whole family. Of course, the aim of this seminar is for our parents to see different ways they can set meaningful goals that will help them as a family, as an individual, and also to uplift their children. And to be able to do justice to this, we'll be talking on the objectives. The first is understanding the importance of intentional goal setting. Learn practical, realistic strategies for setting family and personal goals. We will also identify and overcome common obstacles to goal achievement. Then there will be goal-setting models that we can use to help us to apply what we have learned. And of course, the topic is promising to leave us motivated and feel equipped to take action with clarity and purpose.
Ms. Amu, please a moment so that Mr. Victor can help us share the slide. Mr. Victor, are you there? All right. Thank you so much for sending in the claps. We see you. Thank you. Thank you. We can see you joining from different parts of the world. We're happy to have you. The conversation promises to be wholesome, and this time will be worth it. Thank you so much. Ms. Amu, over to you now. Ms. Amu, can you hear us?
All right, thank you. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
Yes, we
Can you
can.
hear me?
You can start. Your slide is showing. Yes.
Fantastic.
We can see your slide now. Please,
Okay,
someone
so
is
I've
writing
already
on the
introduced the
screen.
topic. So we'll be looking at first. Fantastic. So we can quickly move into the first objective of this presentation, which is definition of terms. What exactly is goal setting? What is goal setting strategies? Why are we talking about setting the course and the rest of them? Of course, we know that every successful journey starts with a clear direction. And in life, we don't drift into success, we drift into what? Confusion. And you can see that many families today are not failing because they don't love their children, not at all, but because they have not set a clear course for them. And children don't also need perfect parents. It's important that we know this. What they need is what? Parents that will direct them to the right course. And then one of the strongest research findings from the Stanford Center on Adolescence shows that children thrive not when life is easy, but when they grow up in homes with clear values, consistent routines, and long-term guidance. So looking at the definition of goal setting, can we move to the next slide? The next slide, please. Okay, maybe he's having... Should I share by myself? Please, can anybody hear me?
We can hear you. Victor, please,
Yes,
can you
we
move her
can.
slide?
So basically, goal setting is the cause maybe he's not managing. Okay, so a goal is like a destination, while a strategy is that route that takes you to that what, to that destination. And then if we talk about why goal setting is important, of course, there is need for us to also see that okay, so a goal is a desired result a person plans to achieve and then commits to a simple and ways to achieve that particular goal. Whereas goal setting is the process of identifying specific, measurable objectives that direct efforts, increase motivation, and improve what? Performances. So, having established this definition, we now quickly look at why are we talking about goal setting strategies and why are we talking about setting the course? Direction, like I said, shapes one's destiny, and setting the course means deciding deliberately what kind of children are we raising as a family? What values guide our decisions on day-to-day? What habits shape our daily life? And what future are we intentionally preparing for our children? But because when parents don't set the course, life sets it for them. Or peer pressure will set it for them, social media and circumstances. And often, not in the direction we would choose. Families don't drift because they intentionally set out to drift away. And then families too that thrive don't wait for motivation. All they do is to plan, they reflect, they adjust, and they lead with purpose. Just like a pilot cannot take off without a flight plan, and a family cannot also flourish without what? A direction. Of course, the destination may change, but the commitment to intentionally grow must remain. And then when parents set the course, what happens? You see that children will grow with clarity. The homes will become emotionally safe, and values are lived, not just talked about. And you see the whole family, moving forward together. Because in the end, you realize that the greatest gift parents can give their children is not comfort, but direction. And that begins with what? One decision, which is what? To stop and then start setting the course. So I start with this story. There was a family that had everything going for them. They had education, comfort, opportunity, but they realized that something is missing. They realized that, yes, it's like we just come here, and it ends there. Everyone woke up busy. Everybody chased their own schedule. Everyone assumed things would work out until one day, the father asked everybody a simple question at dinner. Where are we actually going as a family? And everybody became silent, and that was the moment that changed everything for this family. They realized that although they had, goals for money, goals for school, goals for work, but no goals for who they were becoming together. So they decided to do what? To ask themselves fundamental question. What kind of family do we want? What kind of children do we want to raise? So they talked about values. They set yearly family goals. They reviewed their progress, and they tried to adjust how they go about things. And after a while, during one of their review on how they are making progress, the children became more focused. They made better choices. They understood responsibility. They felt guided. And their parents later said something that as soon as we set the course, our parenting became what? Less exhausting and meaningful. So you can also see when we try to look at the difference. At least. When we try to look at the difference between the concept we're talking about, that's setting the course. So setting the course is like direction. And then it's where we are going. And then goal setting is like a target. What do we want to achieve? And then goal setting strategies is like a method. How do we get to where we are going? So there is power in setting the course as a family, because when parents define direction, society will define it for them. But when parents intentionally set the course, children grow with clarity. They grow with confidence and purpose. And that, more than grades or trophies, is what really prepares them for life. So let's quickly look at why goal setting is important for families. We know that many parents love their children deeply, yet love alone does not guarantee direction at all. What truly matters in a child's future is what? Intentionality. Many parents in our society, they work hard, pray hard, sacrifice deeply, but we still find out that we have dysfunctional homes. And you wonder, some of them even ask, why is my child unmotivated? Especially those of us that work in the school. Why are we always rushing but never progressing? Why does it feel like we are reacting to life instead of leading it? And the answer is not lack of love. It's because of what? Lack of intentional what? Direction. So goal setting, when we about it, it's not a corporate concept that some of us might think. It's a life skill, it's a family tool, and a parenting responsibility. Because anything that is not deliberately built will eventually drift. Come to think of all organizations that are doing well in the world, Apple, Microsoft, and the rest of them, there is something common about them. They have goal, they have a vision, they have a mission, they have core values, and they intentionally drive it in such organizations. So if organizations will take their time to plan for their family, what about family that is the unit cell of the society? There was a mother. She loved her children very well. She worked hard, sacrificed for them, both the mother and the husband. From the outside, everything looked fine. But inside the home, they realized that there is still a lack. Conversations were short. Everyone was always tired. When they come for dining, meals were rushed. Everybody is using their phones, and slowly, very slowly, the family stopped connecting. One evening, the woman overheard her son, saying to a friend, "I don't think my parents really know me." And that sentence broke her heart. That night, she cried. She wasn't a bad mother, but she realized that, there is something that is lacking. And that's why love without direction can still lead to distance. She began to reflect and ask herself a simple question. If companies plan their future, if organizations, if schools plan their curriculum, have a timetable that make them work effectively, why have I left my family's growth to chance? Which is, similar to what we see ourselves doing. So she made a decision. She introduced family goals. She went home and reflected deeply. And this family, that her family will never live on autopilot. And what did she do? She introduced a weekly family check-in, clear family values written down, shared goals for the year, time set aside, and then they dreamed together. Her children started opening up. They began to express themselves. They felt seen, they felt guided, and they felt safe. And one day her son made a statement, "Mommy, I like who we are becoming. This is the power of goal setting." And the mother later said that nothing changed until we started planning our lives the way we plan our finances. Because when families don't set goals, they drift. But when parents lead with intention, homes become places of clarity, peace and purpose. And goals don't take love away. They give love direction, and children who grow with direction grow with confidence. There is a research from the Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest studies on human sources. It shows that people who grow up in structured, purpose-driven environments, that they develop stronger emotional stability, better decision-making skills, and higher life satisfaction. So you can see clarity at home produces confidence in life. So we now move to how goals give direction, focus, and stability. I'll use a story. This is a real life story. This mother was also committed to her children. This family, they are very well off. They do everything. And then they realized that, that's their life is almost as if, everything is about go to work, do this, do that. And then she now decided to adopt what they do in their company, which is what? Monthly meetings, and then workshops, and so many other things. She ensured that children attended like annual retreats, if there are recollections, so that they could pause, reflect, and grow emotionally and spiritually. Then she took it further. They organized a 3-day family workshop, usually in the evenings, where they discuss values, papers, discipline, dreams, and family visions. So they realized that as soon as they started this, each member, became more responsible. Over time, their children began to speak with clarity. They became more reflective. They understood responsibility. They could articulate goals because these are the things they explore in their workshops. And it wasn't as if magic happened. Rather, they decided to run their family with intention. And that is what changed everything. So the question now is, why do families without clear goals drift away? So we've talked about importance of intentional goal setting. So I'd like us now to look at why we should be asking basic questions. Where am I starting from? You see, growth doesn't begin with planning. It begins with honesty. Before we can set meaningful goals for our families, we must be willing to look inward and ask ourselves some sincere questions. Where am I right now? What is working? What is not working? And until we understand our present reality, we cannot responsibly design our future. And that reflection brings us to this second part of our discussion, which is how we can set practical strategies. And the first is life audits. Of course, before you set a goal, you need to pause and take a stock. And goal setting without self-awareness is like planning a journey without knowing where you are currently at. So it is this life audit that will help us as a family to pause, reflect, and gain clarity. It will allow you to see what is working, what needs attention, and what may need to change. So you begin by thinking about your life in the following key areas: my career, my work, how is it going? My relationship, how is my relationship with my spouse? How is my relationship with my children? How is my relationship with my friends? We look at our health, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. When was the last time I did health check? Is it only when I'm so down that I go to the hospital? My spiritual life, do we pray as a family? Do I pray? Am I learning? Do I have personal growth plan? How is my finances? Do I have hobbies? Do I rest? Okay. And then my community involvement and contribution. So we need to ask ourselves the honest question: which areas of my life am I satisfied with? Okay. And then which area feel neglected or unbalanced? And where do I sense the need for a change or improvement? So it is important to understand something here, that being satisfied does not mean that you have to be, perfect. Okay. For example, you may not currently have a hobby, but if it is not a priority, of course, it's not a problem. Okay. And then we should also try to rate our life. Take a moment to rate each aspect of your life. What are the top 3 areas that need change right now? What exactly needs to change in each of these areas? What will meaningful change look like in practical terms? And if these changes happen, how would my life improve? What my life look like if I choose not to make these changes? So choosing goals based on your personal values is also very important. Before setting a goal, it is important to pause and ask a deeper question, like, what truly matters to me? Our goals should not reflect what we want to achieve, but who we want to become. And the best way to discover that is by paying attention to our values. Okay? And then you can get that information by finding out, what kind of people do I feel most comfortable with? What qualities do they consistently display? And is it their kindness? Is it their honesty? Is it their discipline? Because sometimes the qualities we admire in others are the same qualities that we value deeply within ourselves. Now, take the reflection further. Ask yourself, what qualities do I want to be remembered for? When people think of me years from now, what would I hope they say and remember about my character? And what values do I want my life to quietly look like when I'm no more? So these are the questions that will help us move from goal setting without intention to setting goals with intention. Why values are important is because when goals are not rooted in personal values, they often, feel empty and exhausting. You may achieve them and you still feel unfulfilled. But when goals grow out of values, you see that motivation becomes more natural and you feel more grounded and consistent. And let us also know that children learn far more from what we model than from what we say. So when we as parents are clear about our values and set goals that aligns with our values, we see that our children will also model what we display with them. We carefully look at bringing the future forward. So these are the things that will help you to set a proper goal, visioning. Before setting goals, it's important to also pause and imagine, the lifestyle you truly desire, not the life others expect from you, not the life shaped by, the society. So these things will help you, decide the kind of goals you will set for yourself. And then from time to time, find out if my life were moving in the right direction, what would it look like? And then picture your life in key areas and see how you have failed in all of them, both in your careers and everything. Like some persons will say, I'll be confident in who I am. I will be healthy and disciplined. I will have career I enjoy. But you can't do all these things if you don't also plan for them. So when people can see their future, can envision where they are going, you see that they begin to take responsibility for it. And then let's also look at other goal-setting strategies using the Maslow's hierarchy. Maslow taught us that human growth happens in levels. And this applies perfectly to, parenting and goal setting. Sometimes we want our children to be doing well in every aspect. But at the base of this Maslow's hierarchy, there are basic needs, which are food, rest, safety, and stability. For instance, if a child is tired, hungry, anxious, or emotionally unsafe, you'll see that that child cannot do well academically. So that is why family goals must first create structure and security. And then the next in the hierarchy is what? Love, belonging. Children need to feel heard. They need to be accepted and connected. And when this is missing, what happens? You see that motivation will drop. And no matter how intelligent the child is, there is nothing that will make the child to sustain that motivation. And then the next is esteem. That is where we build confidence, responsibility, and achievement. And this is where goal setting becomes very important, helping children set small goals, achieve them, and believe in themselves. And at the top, we see self-actualization. That is now where people's character, values, and direction in life, sets in. You cannot demand high performance from a child whose basic emotional needs are met. And you cannot also raise purpose-driven children without intentional goals. So families that set goals in the right order, safety, connection, growth, purpose, you see that they raise children who are stable, confident, and who are focused. So it is what we call guidance. It is love with direction. And when parents understand this, they stop, pushing and start building wisely. Let's look at practical real life examples, okay, that we can help. Helping a child decide what to study in the university, for example, is one of the greatest challenge that some of our parents, face coming from a school academic background. Of course, I have students that when they get to senior school, you see confusion, you see them, without any sense of this is who I want to become. Of course, many parents mean well, but unintentionally, they push their children towards careers driven by either prestige, fear, comparison, or personal regrets. And the result is often confusion. Children will be resisting, or you see them rebelling. And the child who succeeds outwardly, but the person is lost inside. So the goal is not just to help a child choose a course, but to help them to understand themselves very well. I have a student that rebelled, because the family wanted her to study medicine and be in science class. But this child feels that she should be in art. She has where she feels she will be. So in order to avoid this confusion, let us adopt simple strategies that can help us. You start with the child, not the course. Before talking about medicine, law, engineering, whatever, ask the child, what do you enjoy doing naturally? What subjects excite you the most? What kind of problems do you like solving? What activities make you lose track of time? Because every child has inclinations, even if they are not yet fully developed. The role of a parent is to observe the child, listen and guide, not to impose. And that's why we need to have time for our children. Because when children feel understood, they become more open to guidance. Help them discover their strengths and abilities. Many children struggle because they are, doing in the areas that do not match their strengths. And then parents can also help by observing academic patterns, not just grades. Look at effort, look at interests, okay? And then notice also non-academic strengths. How does my child communicate? Is my child creative? Does she have leadership skill? Is she empathetic? Encourage aptitude or interests, and then allow exposure to different subjects and activities. A lot of schools do that. By senior school, they ask their students to, observe in companies that do the things they are thinking of studying in the university. So a child who understands their strengths, gain confidence and clarity. Teach them the difference between interest, talent, and career. And one common mistake is assuming that what a child enjoys is what they must study, or what pays well is what they should study. I've seen medical doctors give their certificate to their parents and, pursue their area of interest. So they should understand that there should be a balance. So as we expose them to real life career options to just see what it looks like, we should also, talk about different professions realistically. Encourage job shadowing, volunteering, discuss what daily work in a career actually looks like. So these are the strategies that brings clarity to such thing. And then connect career choices to their values. Also look at what kind of life the child would want to live. Let them to, ascertain that. And then avoid comparison and pressure. Your cousin is studying medicine. This course has more respect. This one pays better. Let us know that every child has a different design and timeline. So we should teach them that career paths are not fixed forever. They can, even as they grow, unfold and see a different thing they would love to do. So when we help them choose a career, we help them discover who they are, and then we help them to grow in confidence. And people must see where they are and where they are going before they can plan effectively. So we transition into obstacles and why goals fail. Before we reflect into the models that we can use to achieve different goals, why do goals fail? The truth is that many people don't fail because they lack dreams. They fail because something quietly blocks their progress along the way. So before we explore goal setting strategies, let us look at obstacles. And the first one is failure to plan. One of the clearest ways, people fail is because families don't plan. There is these two parents, both of them want a peaceful home and a strong relationship with their children. The first parent wants quality family time, but has no plan. Meals are rushed, conversations are unplanned, everyone is just busy. But the second parent plans intentionally. They schedule family meals, set aside weekly check-in, they have time to, stay as a family. They try to create moments for bonding. And later, after, years, the difference was obvious. The other home feels disconnected and, as if somebody is pursuing them. But the other family feels calm, organized, and emotionally, secure. So you can see. And that's why even research in family psychology shows that family who plan routines and share time, they experience stronger emotional bonds and fewer behavioral problems in children. So planning creates stability, and stability creates what? Security. And when we fail to plan, what happens? When we fail to plan, we plan to fail. Another barrier is setting unrealistic goals. Unrealistic goals ignores reality, time, or process. It does not take into account current skills or preparation. It does not look at available time or resources. It does not take into cognition natural development stages or logical progression. And unrealistic goals sound like, you see somebody, I want to be a doctor in 6 months. Or I will become wealthy without learning any skills. Or I want to succeed without changing my habits. I don't need to prepare. It will just happen. So these goals are not challenging. They are disconnected from reality. They usually lead to frustration, discouragement, and burnout. And that's why our youth is as if there is a disconnect. They want fast money, fast this, fast everything. Because they set unrealistic goals, they have ignored reality, and they hope for magic. So it's important that we help our children to ask, is this goal possible with growth, learning, and time? Does this goal require me to become better, not just lucky? We know that being lucky is when what? Preparedness meets opportunity. Can I identify steps that will move me closer, even slowly? So if the answer is no, then the goal is unrealistic and needs adjustment, because unrealistic goals breeds confidence. Another mistake we also do barrier is failure to write goals down. Writing goals down is very important. In fact, research by Dr. Grail says that some people that write their goals are 33% more likely to achieve them. Because the brain takes written goals more seriously than imagined ones. When you write your goal, your brain processes it as a commitment, not a wish. And you move the goal from imagination into reality. So when we write our goal down, it makes it easy to measure, review, track progress, adjust strategy, and stay accountable. But when goals remain in the head, it remains vague. But when it is written, then there should be an action. So it's very important. The real question is, are we willing to take our goals seriously and write it down? There is even a scripture base of that. Write the vision, make it plain on tablets so that it may run who reads it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. So even the Bible is giving us that injunction. It didn't say think about it. It said write it. So clarity When you write, it leads to what? Clarity. Then another thing is also creating a visual representation of your goal. You can have it, in your either wardrobe, wherever you see it easily. Okay, so you don't need to do anything, just maybe in a cardboard sheet or whatever. Okay, so that is it. The next thing is failure to start small. One of the biggest obstacles to achieving goals is what? Failure to start small. Studies in psychology and behavior change consistently find that breaking big goals into small manageable steps increase follow-through and reduces overwhelming. And when a goal feels too large or vague, the brain reacts with stress. So starting small also helps with habit formation. So the idea behind this small step approach is that when you break your big goal into smaller steps, you can accomplish it in days or weeks. And by doing this, you reduce stress, you strengthen confidence, and you create a rhythm of action that keeps you moving forward. So big goals inspire you, but small steps get you there. There is also the jar illustration. Would have played the video, but because of want of time, there is this, you can imagine, a jar placed in front of you. Okay, you can play. Okay, so the jar beside it has big rocks, pebbles, and sand. If you put the sand first, then the pebbles, and then the rocks, what happens? You discover that the rock will not fit into the empty jar. But when you put the big rocks first, followed by the pebbles and then the sand, everything will fit perfectly. So this illustration carries a deep lesson. The big rock represents your most important goals, your core values, your family, your health, and then education and faith. Long-term goals, basically. These are the things that truly matters in your life. The pebbles, they're important, but secondary activities. Okay, that your work demands, school assignments, projects, daily responsibility. They matter, but they should not control your life. And the sand are those small distractions like social media, excessive screen time, and time wasters. They are not bad in themselves, but if they take priority, they crowd out what truly matters. So if you fill your life with sand first, distraction, you won't have time for the next one. And lastly, using the wrong goal setting model. We're going to present a few goal models that we can use. And then the most important thing here is that many people struggle with their goals, not because they cannot do it, but because they follow a method that simply does not suit them. And then we should understand that some people thrive with clear deadlines. Some people thrive with checklists. Some people thrive with measurable targets, structured timelines, but others thrive with flexibility, exploration, and creativity. Some gradual progress without pressure. So it's always good to look at what works for us so that we don't also get not motivated to achieve our goal. And then, according to research by Dr. John Knockers, about 23 to 25% of people abandon their goals within the first week. Around 40 to 46 quit by the end of the first month. And then roughly 60 to 65% abandon their goals within 6 months. And only 19 to 20% successfully maintain their goals after 2 years. So what exactly are those people doing? They avoid setting unrealistic goals. They try not to change too much at once. They plan for setbacks and they rely on motivation. So we look at how we can apply goal setting methods. So the first is the SMART goal. Okay, SMART goal makes it easier for some people. It works for some people. The S is make the goal, very specific. You can't say my child should do well this term. No. Do well in mathematics this term. No. Rather, you can say my child should study 30 minutes of mathematics every day so she can improve his or her grade in mathematics. So SMART will ask you, what do you want to achieve? When will you achieve it? Is the goal measurable? That's the M. Is it attainable? Okay. For instance, if it is mathematics, of course, you know that by the end of the term, you can measure it. Is it attainable? Yes. Is it realistic? It is realistic because you can actually commit to 30 minutes each day and achieve it. And then it is time bound because you know when you're supposed to, achieve it. Now we have the WHOOP method developed by psychologist Gabriele. The W means what? Wish. The O is outcome. The P means what? We have, for instance, WHOOP helps people move from wishful thinking to intentional action. Imagine a parent who says, I want to be more involved in my children's life. Okay, that is the wish. Then the next is outcome. You have to ask, if this happens, how will my life or my child's life improve? So it will make you, we will be closer, communication will improve, and my child will feel supported. So that is the outcome. And then comes the most important part, obstacle. Okay, so that's where WHOOP is better. And then the obstacle will ask you, what might stop me from achieving this goal? Am I always tired? My schedule, is it too full? Do I get distracted? So this step is what will now make you to do what? Anticipate obstacles and plan for them. And then the P, plan. This is where action becomes clear and realistic. If I come home tired and I will still spend 10 intentional minutes with my child, you will see that there won't be excuses. So WHOOP works because it helps you decide, what you want, makes you emotionally connect to the outcome, forces you to confront obstacles honestly, and gives you a practical plan to act. Then there is this small step method that works for some people. It's for behavior mostly. Okay. And how it works, it's kind of makes you, reminds us that many people fail because they try to do many things at once. But real progress happens when we start small, stay consistent, and build momentum over time. So each step may seem small, but together they lead to meaningful goal. So just like this blog, success is built gradually. So we look at how do we now commit? Up to this point, we've talked about goal setting, we've talked about strategies, and then there is also an area that people often forget, commitment and action plan. Of course, we cannot just learn without making efforts to commit to action. And how we can do that is by viewing obstacles as growth opportunities. Many people believe that obstacles are signs that something is wrong, but in reality, obstacles are what? Part of the growth. Because the truth is not the absence of challenges that leads to what? For people to achieve their goal, but how we respond to those obstacles. So when we begin to see our goals as a way to grow, it changes everything. Let's think of it this way. If there were no challenges on your journey, okay, nothing about you will change. Your mindset will remain the same, your skill will remain the same, and your character will not develop. In fact, the version of you at the end of the journey will still be the version of you before the journey. Imagine a child learning to walk. They fall, they stumble, they cry, but those falls are not failures. They are training. Without falling, the child never learns balance. And without struggle, the child will not build strength. So the same thing applies to our goal. When challenges come, tiredness, delays, there are signs that growth is happening. And this is why successful people don't ask, why is this happening to me? Successful people ask, what is this teaching me? So it's important that we look at what obstacles am I likely to face? What usually slows me down? What will I do when I feel tired? And when you plan for obstacles, you'll find out that your mindset will change. Another thing that will help us to stay put with our goal is building a support system. Why is it that even if I'm motivated, how do I stay consistent and not give up? One of the biggest mistakes people make in goal setting is believing that they have to do everything. No. Successful people don't succeed alone. They succeed because they have people, they have the right support around them. And that is why building a support system is a sign of wisdom. And every goal comes with moments of doubt sometimes. It is your support system that will help you, call you when you need encouragement, give you honest advice, help you think clearly, and even help you, push forward when you're not motivated. And sometimes they pray for you. Each person plays a different role. So who can walk this journey with me is very important. And we also encourage our children to do the same. And then another thing people do is don't look at is identifying limiting beliefs. Before people can act, they must first deal with what is happening in their mindset. Okay? Sometimes, even when I know what to do, why do I still struggle and I don't move forward? It's because of limiting beliefs and fear. Okay? And then sometimes too, you realize that these limiting beliefs, it makes us to think that we cannot do the things we are supposed to do. Okay, so we need to ask, is this belief actually true? Is it helping me or limiting me? Where did I learn it? What do we need to do in this situation? We replace it with, instead of saying, I can still keep up with my schedule, you say, I can create a system that works. Instead of saying, I'm not good at this, you can say, I can learn and improve. So closely tied to limiting beliefs is fear of failure. People fail because they fear disappointing others, disappointing themselves, making mistakes, looking foolish. But research in psychology shows that failure is one of the strongest tools for learning and problem solving. And people who reflect on failure, they grow faster than those who avoid it. Look at Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb. He failed how many times? About 1,000 plus. But he's known for his famous response, I have not failed 1,000 times. Rather, I've just found 1,000 times ways that won't work. Imagine. And that made him persist. It's about mindset. Edison refused to see failure as proof that he couldn't succeed. He saw it as a feedback. So many people give up on their goal. So let us learn from Edison. What am I really afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? If it happened, how would I recover? So most times we realize that fear is bigger in our minds than even in reality. And when we confront fear honestly, it loses power. Therefore, let us know that growth begins when we challenge the beliefs that limit us and choose courage over fear. Lastly, shifting locus of control. I'm sure we'll be wondering what this means. Shifting locus of control is like saying, moving from blaming circumstances toward taking responsibility for your choices. You can't commit to action and start setting realistic goals, without looking at what are these locus of control. Many people struggle to achieve their goals because of how they see control in their lives. In other words, it's the difference between saying, for instance, things just happen to me. I can choose how I respond to say, taking ownership of your life and your choices and moving from excuses to what? To responsibility. And then some people believe that their lives are controlled by circumstances. Other people, you hear some people saying that that is that somebody took my destiny, And then it also made people, lack of opportunities, forgetting that being lucky, like I said, is when opportunity meets preparedness. Some feel their life is controlled by bad luck. You see them from one prophet to another. This is called an external locus of control. So people with this mindset often say, if only things were better, it's not my fault. Life is unfair. Nothing I do makes a difference. Okay? And over time, they feel stuck. On the other hand, people with an internal locus of control, they believe that I can make choices that change my situation. I may not control everything, but I can control my response. I can learn, I can grow and improve. So this mindset is powerful because it puts responsibility back where it belongs. I end with this story, okay? There is a young man, a graduate. He felt frustrated because job wasn't forthcoming. And in fact, at some point, he felt the siblings were the cause of his problem. This thing about thinking that people are the cause of our problem. And from one prayer house to another. But luckily, one of the siblings helped him to get a job. And as soon as he became busy, nobody has been hearing prayer session or anything. So you can see some parents, they will say, I'm too busy. I can't do anything about it. And you see another parent saying, I may be busy, but I can do what? I can choose how I use the time I have. Same situation, different mindset, and very different result. So when we shift from blaming circumstances to taking responsibility, we stop feeling powerless and we start making progress. And that shift is what moves people from wishing to acting and to growing. And the moment we stop blaming and start taking responsibility is the moment growth begins. You may not control everything that happens to you, but you always control how you respond to them. In conclusion, before we send our goal-setting worksheets and possible reflection question, as we come to the end of this section, I want to leave you with one simple thought. Your family and that's your life and that of your family do not change by chance. No, it changes by choice. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need to be perfect. All you don't need to, start big. All you need is to start intentionally. And the smallest decision made consistently can change the course of a family, a child, and even the whole family. So today, don't live with information alone. Live with intention, live with clarity, and then live with the courage to take the first step. Because when you set the course deliberately, growth is no longer accidental. It becomes what? Inevitable. Thank you. But because we go over to question, we look at the final slide where I just want us to quickly look at. Mr. Victor, can you bring the last slide for us? So this is just a kind of reflective question that I think will help us. So the first says, this year, as a parent, I want to grow in what? What would you want to grow in? And then the second one is child focus. One area my child needs the most guidance is what? Is it discipline? Is it academic? Just pick one. Remember, we talked about starting small. And then one thing our family will focus on this term or this year will be, is it quality time that is lacking? Is it communication? It is routine. Why I want us to reflect on this is that there is a family I know, they have separated. And what is the reason? They were chasing life, doing all things, but what happened? They realized that their romantic life has drifted. They're just living in their house as if they are roommates. And that's really made them started thinking we are not meant for each other. So these are reasons why we need to also look at strategies that work for us. Where exactly do I need to improve? Is it my family love life? Is it my relationship with my spouse? Is it with my children? And with this, I tell you, our families will become what it is meant to be. Thank you once again, and I look forward to your questions.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ijeoma Amu. In fact, I can hear the applause. I can also see the cheers. This is a session that people pay in dollars to receive. From us at Hill Secondary School through Parents First, we are offering it on a platter of gold. Thank you so much, Mrs. Ijeoma Amu, for this truly enriching session. Your presentation was not only insightful, but deeply practical, one that speaks to the realities of parent and family life in today's world. The clarity with which you broke down goal setting, the relatable examples you shared, and the balance between professional expertise and lived experience made this session both empowering and refreshing. You have reminded us that parenting is not about perfection, but about intention, structure, and love. We are grateful for the wisdom, for the warmth and depth you brought to this space tonight. We'll now move over to our question and answer session. And at this point in time, if we have people who would want to speak, we'll have you have the floor. You're also free to type in your questions on the chat box, and we'll take about 3 or 4 questions before we call it a day. We can see the feedbacks on the chat box. We are truly grateful for this session. Thank you so much. Okay, so someone asked, could we get some snippets of this talk, perhaps through email? Sure, we'll send it through our WhatsApp platform at Parents First.
There's a hand up. There's a hand up.
Right. Jude Udachara raised his hand. Mr. Victor, could you help unmute him?
He's unmuted already.
All right.
I wish to thank Mrs. Amu for this wonderful lecture. And then I want her to also help me or help some of us. Some of us who are not used to writing like the goals, setting goals and then putting them in writing. Even when we get diaries, we don't even write our daily itineraries. I'm one of them. And how can you help us to start to break the leather gear that is of some? We don't think that is necessary. Everything is in our head as parents. How can we make a move? And that's one. And then two, when we don't believe in setting goals, outlining these goals, or one spouse does not believe in it, how do we help the other spouse to even big interest in lectures like this, and then in getting our spouses to cooperate so that some of these things, these tips we get from these lectures, we can implement in our families, because most of us believe that parenting comes natural, and there's nothing to learn from the others. Please just help us.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Amu, is it better you take all the questions and then you answer at once? Is that okay?
Okay, let me type them. Let me note them down. Any other question? One is writing.
Yes, writing down the goals. Then we have Francis Mwadike. He said he has a question. We also have Kate or Betta, whose hand is up. Mr. Victor, please, could you help unmute Francis or Kate so that they can ask their questions?
It is unmuted.
It is unmuted, okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you,
Evening.
Madam. Thank you for your very educative presentation. You touched on a lot of points, which I'm sure everybody will find himself or herself in one place in your presentation. I did. I just want to add to what you said about, in addition to setting goals, something I realized this December, that we as parents should try and look for something that is not academic, it's not spiritual, something that keeps the family together, something that can keep the family together. I don't want to go deep into why I said that, but if it's a sport, if it's a game, if it's a TV series, if it's a if it's something that's not spiritual and something that is not academic, that bonds the family together. And that is what I see is one of the things that can keep the family together long after the children are grown and they've left home. Those memories will last. So I just wanted to add that. I learned that this holiday, and it's part of my goals for the year. So I wanted to share that.
I thank you very much. Really appreciate that contribution.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Francis, are you ready to go? So you ask your question. Mr. Victor, can you unmute him?
Francis, go ahead. All right, good evening. Thank you very much, Mrs. Amu, for this wonderful presentation. In fact, it was very educative, as it were. I've learned a new one. Before now, I used to think that the greatest gift a parent can give to a child is quality education. But tonight, the greatest gift a parent can give to their children is not quality again, is comfort. It's not comfort, but direction. Why it's educative. Thank you very much. Just a quick one. My question is, when a student consistently fails to meet his goal, what advice can you give to such a student? You know, when a student consistently fails to meet his goal, how do you go about that? Because sometimes it might be discouraging for them to meet such a goal, but then how do you advise such a boy to not to give up, but to consistently follow that? Thank you very much. That's my question.
I thank you very much. Chidima's
so Mel, do we
iPhone,
start?
are you raising up your Chidima's iPhone, are you raising up your hand or? Okay, so Ms. Amu, I think you can respond to the questions.
Okay. So the first one is asking that he hasn't been, writing down goals. He, has it on his head and so on and so forth. Okay, remember what I said about writing down goals. Okay, when you write things, it kind of spurs you to commitment to an extent. And because it's not something you have been doing, you have to start small. And first of all, ask yourself, I haven't been writing down my goals. If I start writing it down, what do I think I will gain? What if, okay, I behave like a scientist, I don't know the outcome already, but research has proven that it works. Let me just explore. Okay, so that mindset of that outcome will spur you. And then the most important thing is that remember about having an accountability partner. Sometimes our brain does not contain all the things we want to do. But as the ideas, the ideas are coming in, we are noting it down. It will help us not to even forget. And imagine now doing it as a family, okay? So that paper kind of represents what? A commitment by the family. We know that this is something we have decided we're going to do, and we have written it somewhere. So you will see that everybody from time to time is looking forward to, where are we in this goal? Because you might even set it on your head, and at the end of the day, you realize that you did not even remember everything. But imagine if you itemize it. It's measurable. You can even, palpate it. You can even say, oh, this is where we are. This is where we're supposed to reach. It's easy to review. So there are a lot of benefits aside the ones I've mentioned in the talk. So it's something that people don't find fascinating. But I tell you, a lot of people that have started doing it, they testify on how it has helped them really achieve more compared to when they were not putting goals down. And then when you have a partner that doesn't believe in anything, remember, for children, for us to even, support our family as a whole, husband and wife has to be united. Very important. It is that unity of life that will be the foundation of everything. And it might not be our thing, but the discussion should start. We must start from somewhere, and that's the essence of this presentation. Start small. Hello, dear. Hello, honey. Yes, we haven't been doing this, but can we for once sit down and think, plan, and run this home as a family? So what do you think? Okay. I don't think the person, if he or she sees the rationale, the importance of this and how it's going to the bigger picture, support the family and help you, the whole family to improve, will say no outrightly. And another thing is when you bring such discussion too, okay, it has to be when it is convenient for both. It also has to be when you start the conversation, there won't be distractions, so that you sit down and then you must have also thought about it, so that when you bring your argument, you will see that the other person will definitely, agree with you. But even if the person did not agree, you should not also give up. I have seen families that one partner does not agree to anything, but the other partner did not give up. Okay. And that is one thing we talked about. You can't give up. So you have to persist. From time to time, you bring it up again. You can even try with a few kids, share the testimony, and before you know it, you win the person over. So you can't force it because you're dealing with an adult, but you get the person to buy in. You must get the person to buy in, and you can only get the person to buy in through what? Small steps. Okay, you bring in the first time, the person says no, you try again, and before you know it, I can tell you definitely the person will want to look at, oh, this thing you're doing, it seems it's making sense. Okay, let's try it together. It has worked in some families, and some other time, the person may never even listen, but the key point is do not give up trying to get your partner to, unite with you to set meaningful goals that will help your family to succeed. So the third question is talking about a boy that consistently is not meeting up and all that. So I don't have the full picture, but if it is an academic issue, okay, is it all the subjects? Is it a few subjects? How is this child's life? I'll share what I did with one of my advisee and see if it will help. This my advisee, she doesn't believe that when she gets back home, she do any other thing. So I realized her own was like a mindset thing, okay? So it's also good to look at your child's mindset. And then weekends, she doesn't also believe that weekends, one should be studying after studying Monday to Friday. So it's time for fun. And when you engage this child, you see that this child has stuff. So why is this child not doing well academically? So what I did with her was to design, we talked about her full day. Okay, so she was telling me what she does from the time she wakes up to the time she sleeps. And we realized all the time wasters. When she comes back home, she plays with her siblings. And after the play, she watches movie. And after that, she sleeps. And she told me that, okay, how do you now do your assignment that she copies from her friends? So you can see a mindset problem. We are dealing with a mindset. And then I now asked her, do you think that you can start with 40 minutes every day to at least review the assignment and try to do it on your own? I didn't even start with studying. And then there was an extrinsic motivation. It also works for children. And I told her, I have something I got from my travel. I said, if you start doing your assignments on your own, I'll confirm. Of course, I had to also bring the family together so that we work hand in hand. You will get this small, small. So she started with the assignment. Sometimes she will not manage. And then from that, she started doing assignments quickly. We introduced studying. I said, can you study for just 25 minutes? Because when you start big, the person will run away. She agreed. And the next day she came, she said, Miss Sam, do you know I studied for 45 minutes? I didn't even know when it was 45 minutes. I said, well done. Because I wanted her to do it every day. So I didn't want, because consistent habit, you're what you constantly do. Okay. And when you start small, you get motivated and you see yourself, rolling. So gradually, this girl started sitting down, started studying small, small. To be honest with you, this particular child I'm talking about is in honors rule, meaning that she's hitting an hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours on daily basis. That is one. There is also another child, specifically, her problem was mathematics. Her own is mindset. She says, as soon as the teacher comes in, she's disconnected. You should also know, is it teacher problem? So because she's disconnected, she doesn't even listen. So it's good to find the root cause of the problem, just like that Maslow's hierarchy of need, the basic issue. And then as soon as we discovered that, I now said, okay, look at it this way. How will mathematics help you as a student? I had to make her to think through it. And after that discussion, I now asked her, okay, can you now on your own, even if you don't want to listen to the teacher, find out what the teacher has done through your fellow students? She said, okay, Miss Sam, I'll try and listen. And after making her to listen, the next thing is, can you start solving 2 questions every day and come and show me? I had to ask the parents to buy these foolscap sheets, buy A4 paper. So she was solving 2. Before you know it, on her own, she started solving 5. It was later I asked her to start making it 10. And after like few weeks, she was so happy because she said gradually she started developing interest in mathematics. And I started with smaller questions, not something she will not. I asked her, which topic do you understand most? So my target is to get this child to even start something. And then I have another child that wasn't doing well, just like you presented. But you know what the child's problem was? The father is not in the country. The mother is a businesswoman, not always around, and are connected fully with DSTV. This child told me that once she comes back home, the only thing she does is to sit down and watch DSTV. So her head was filled up with movies. No time to think, no time to do anything. So first of all, what is this child's life like on a daily basis? What does he do at home when he comes back home? We start with that. And then how do we now, from where the child is, because the first question is, where is this child now? Where do we want this child to go? And then what are the processes? These are those strategies. So the first stage could be discussion. Okay, engage the child. Does this child feel loved? Does this child even happy? What is the fundamental problem? So after, if that is not the issue, then the next thing we can say is what's laziness, because there is also a particular child that her own was just mental laziness, not that she wasn't intelligent.
Miss Amu will have to go.
I live with this. Okay, so in a nutshell, there is this father. You know what he did? He wasn't even a professional, but what he did was, this is a man that did not go to the university. and the son graduated the best student in medicine. The boy shared with us that what the father does is that once they come back from school, the father, after their chores and everything, will bring newspaper and sit with them on the dining table. And the father will be looking at the newspaper. The boy even said that sometimes he feels he wasn't even reading anything because you see that the newspaper was upside down. But the father will sit there for 2 hours. And that was how they built what? Study skill. And over time, it was just part of them. So it was a family strategy. So it's to know where your child is. Maybe we can talk further and see how we can, support him as a family. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Amu, for that great answer. I believe that for most of us who have joined, who also have children in this category, we have found tips and ways to better support our child or children. We have very important questions on the chat box, but please, as much as these questions are very important, and we know that they will support us a lot, we really like you to join our WhatsApp platform, join our Facebook platform on Parents First so that the conversation continues. And of course, Ms. Amu is always available to provide support, guidance, and of course, throw more light on some of the things that we may want to clarify and need. So as we come to the end of tonight's seminar, I would sincerely like to thank you, Mrs. Ijeoma Amu, for sharing your wealth of knowledge and experience with us. Thank you as well to all our parents who joined from different parts of the world. We hope tonight's session has equipped and inspired you to intentionally set the course for your families this 2026 and beyond. This has been Parents First, an initiative of Hill Rain Secondary School. From me, Melvina Iwanugo, and the entire team, have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Good night.